On Tuesday, Shane Lowry was asked, what would it mean for Ireland to have a Masters winner? He said, I think it would be one of the biggest things that ever happened sport in our country. Then he laughed, so I try not to think about stuff like that. Gentlemen, we have just witnessed the first Irishman ever to win the Masters. And I guess the most obvious question is, what was it like to be here? Conor.
Well, I've never seen anything like that, ever. It was extraordinary. And for it to happen here in this place, even as the sunlight was going down there and Rory was going in to get the trophy and the jacket, the fact that it went to the playoff and made it a little bit further into the evening and the sun was going down behind the pond, it was kind of so idyllic. And as a tournament, like Rory had won this and lost this so many times over. I can't think of another sports person that has flown so high at such altitude and so dangerously close to the ground so many times in one round of golf. And to watch him at the end on the green was just incredible.
Okay. Brian, yes. How is it for you?
Having been here, in 2011, when he shot that 80 in the final round and the devastation of that day, and to see him come full circle, just even from meeting him when he was 14 in the East of Ireland Championship when he trotted across to say hi, and winning the West in 2005, 20 years, the ups and downs and what he's achieved to be, just the sixth man to win the Grand Slam is absolutely unbelievable. And I just think he deserves huge credit for what he's come through over the last few years, all the disappointments and the ups and downs of today, to be able to stick in there and just get over the line. It was just a magnificent performance generally.
Conor, give me your outstanding memory. If I asked you for one memory of today, what would it be?
I shot into 15 was just incredible. The situation he put himself in was so dire. He had blown a 4-shot lead at the Masters. He had hit maybe the worst shot of his professional career on 13 with a wedge. And that old failings, the old failings that he's tried to work out of his game, the kinks, came back, same with the wedge into 18. And his drive down 15 was long, but it was under a tree. And there was two choices, it was all duck or no dinner. And he had to hit this low thing with about 30 feet of curve. And he didn't blink.
Right.
And I think that summed up his attitude this week. It was all on the line there. Otherwise, it's the worst collapse, meltdown. It's the worst day of his career.
Let's address that. This is the point. This is the thing that struck me. I defer to both of you in terms of your golfing knowledge. Okay, in terms of you know the game, you play the game a lot better than I do, and a lot more than I do. What I have learned over the last 10 years is how hard this is. How hard professional golf is, how hard the majors are, or harder it is to do it. And I've learned that from watching him. And I thought the thing for me today was something that Brandon Chambly put up on Twitter before the start of the round. No player in the history of the game has ever gone out with more pressure on his shoulders than McIlroy did today. So when you talk about collapse, and use words as they have always been used, choke, he's blown it. I think you need to put that in context of the pressure he's under.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And what makes this the win that it is, the monumental achievement that it is all of that context.
Yeah.
Because Rory put himself in this position. Like the great cliche that sports people use now is that pressure is a privilege. And Rory earned that privilege by winning the other three majors.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And when you put yourself in that position, it was either going to be the greatest success of his career or was going to be the biggest disappointment. Now you can phrase that way or paint it any way you want, but they were the two options as he went in, taking that shot on 15, and to pull that off with the level of execution and then to go and see it out, it was incredible.
Yeah. Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, it would have been very easy for, it's easy to go and hide in these things. I think, that's the point that's lost. Over the years, many guys have put themselves up there, don't like the heat in the kitchen and get out of Dodge as quickly as they can, make a double bogey and hide, finish 15th. And, on they go. But Rory doesn't have that choice. As he said, what are we going to talk about next year, in his press conference after?
I thought that was great, yeah.
What are we going to talk about next year?
Great.
It's just such an historic occasion. But the way he reacted to all the things that went wrong, 2 double bogeys on the first day. There's only one guy had ever won the Masters making 3 double bogeys, and that was, Stadler in his first one. And Rory made 4 this week, double bogey on 13. He had every right to just say, well, it's just not going to work out for me. But he got the breaks. He said today, I rode my luck today. And you know what? I think after all the stuff that's happened to me over the last few years, I think I deserved it.
Yeah,
he got a gap in the trees on 5. He got a gap in the trees on 7. Didn't go in the water on 11. Loads of little things like that. But you make your own luck.
Those 2 shots I thought were phenomenal. Given where the situation that he was in. Like, he went from 2 shots ahead of DeChambeau to 1 behind in the space of 2 holes. That has to rattle you. I don't care what anybody says, it has to rattle you. And those 2 shots, watching him, he didn't pick the shot out straight away. It took him a while to go, actually, yeah. And you're talking about hitting this thing out of pine straw so clean that it flies straight up in the air, and you're trying to put it through a hole the size of a dustbin lid. That's phenomenal in the situation. And that's what I'm talking about. The privilege of that pressure that he had. He could have hacked it sideways and tried to get up and down, but he went for it. He nearly holed the 1 on 7. That was an incredible shot. He sent it up into orbit, and I thought, looking at it, that the ball had already come down and I couldn't see it on the green, and then all of a sudden it plopped there. So he went for high tariff shots. And to go back to his press conference, we like to sort of tie things up in a neat bow, but he made that he made that point in his press conference about falling in love. Like, sometimes you have to commit and allow to get your heart broken. He did that, and he ended up where he did, which is extraordinary.
He said Harry tried to talk him out of the shot on the 7th, but I thought it was I went out, you're on the first hole, and I was just coming back down from the first. He made a double bogey. I bump into Guy Kinnings from the European Tour and Eric Nickley, the 2 top men on the DP World Tour. And what happened? Double bogey for Rory. What? And the incredulity, they just couldn't believe that this had happened, And then, what happens at the second as well, and DeChambeau makes birdie. But, Rory did say that the birdie he made on the 3rd was the key that settled him,
I exchanged some messages with a few people this morning before we went out in terms of, well, what do you think? We know Paul McGinley and Brandon certainly thought he would do it. Seamus Power, I texted Seamus this morning. He thought he had a great chance. Well, he obviously had a great chance, but he was also very positive about it. I felt really, and again, I qualified that by saying, well, what you feel doesn't really matter because you don't really know the game, but I'm going to tell you what I felt. I felt that the burden of history would be too great for him. I felt it would be too great. I felt, for, what was it, 10 years, almost 11 years since he'd last won a major. The green jacket in itself, what it represents, it means more to them than any major now. That's what's happened with this place. It's actually taken over now. This is the one that means the most to them. It used to be the Claret Jug, and a lot of players will still tell you it is. But if they're being really honest, I think they would say that they want the green jacket first. But more than anything, or added to that certainly, the weight of the career Grand Slam, to join that club that is so small and guarantees. But I felt the weight of history of those 3 things combined would be too great.
Yeah, I felt the same as you. I did. I have to say, I had that suspicion as well, particularly after going behind so early in the day. And he said himself in his press conference, and it was.
Okay, here's a question, right? To be honest about this, both of you. Where were you in terms of he's going to do it, he's not going to do it, as the round went on?
I probably switched sides. I probably switched sides 5 times.
Okay.
Probably switched.
Can you pinpoint when that went? When?
So I would say that I started off from a position of not being sure. Right. After 2 holes, I didn't think he was going to do it.
Yeah.
When DeChambeau started going backwards, so at the turn then when Rory went 3, I thought he was going to do it again. When he went in the drink on 13, I didn't think he was going to do it. On 15, I thought he was going to do it. And when it got to the playoff, I hadn't had an iota of an idea. Yeah. So I started off not knowing, and I finished off not knowing. And in between, we had...
Brian, any
yeah, I was the same, and I would agree. I would agree with. I think when he bogeyed the 14th, after making the mistake on the 13th, and I thought maybe this just isn't going to happen. And then when he gave himself such a great chance on the second make par, win and get it over with wedge, and puts it in the bunker and missed the putt, I really thought, wow, maybe the fates are going to go against him here. But he spoke about the pressure of being tipped by Nicholas.
Yeah,
Watson,
that it didn't help.
Player.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. But he said, I'm the eternal optimist. And these guys are, Padraig Harrington, Graham McDowell, these guys, Larry, they're special people to be able to deal with these kind of pressures. And the skill that they have is so phenomenal. I don't think we really have any concept of how good they are at this game to be able to zone in and actually execute these shots. Not all the time, but most of the time. But Rory said, I'm the eternal optimist, and I think that's what they have, these top.
Well, I got up this morning and I was trying to figure out what I was going to wear. I bought this beautiful shirt last year in Pinehurst with a lovely Pinehurst crest, pink. And I took it out and I thought, oh no, I'm not wearing that today. Just as a bad omen. And I thought, watched them stand up in the firsts, and I make double bogey, and I thought, oh my God. You know what was really awful? I mean, it's really awful. I came back into the press room and I was sitting there and I decided to watch the first couple of holes in the media centre here. And the cynicism, fellas talking behind about him, it was just awful.
Right.
Just absolutely appalling. And I've witnessed it before. I remember being down by the 11th tee, and a lot of Irish fellas come over and they start talking about why they were here. And I said, what about Rory? Choker, he'll bottle it again, he'll never do it. And again, this was the kind of tone of what I was hearing in the press room after those first holes. It was actually, oh look, it didn't take him long to lose it today, only 33 minutes. That's after DeChambeau had birdied on two. So I think to overcome all of that crap, that he can stand up there now with the green jacket is an absolutely huge achievement.
And to do it here as well, I know that Augusta, the mythology of it, but you get a sense of that as soon as you come here. And if you're a player and you want to win here, and you've been here as many times as Rory, it's not a golf course, do you know what I mean? You can feel the history everywhere. Every time he goes into the media room, the walls are adorned with all the people who have won it before. And to break, I thought Rory had a great chance of winning a major this year, genuinely not being wise after the event, the way he had sort of broken down what his problems were, how he improved and all the rest of it. But given the major rota,
you wouldn't have picked here.
No, I wouldn't have picked here.
No chance.
And to have done it here is incredible.
Yeah.
It's total fairy tale stuff for Rory Mac, because just on Rory and people's perceptions of him, by 2014 I remember being a little bit ambivalent about Rory McIlroy from afar, just because he was almost he was too talented, too superhuman, too successful. And I think over the last 11 years, not only has we've kind of watched all those really big disappointments. I think he's humanised, but I think we kind of shared a lot. A lot of people who follow golf, particularly Irish golf, would have shared his pain, and I think that's why people are so happy for him tonight.
Where were you when he did it, Brian? Where were you when he actually did it? Where did you see it?
On my large screen in the media centre.
Okay.
I was looking at the backs of people's head on the 18th.
You were on the 18th green?
Yeah. Well,
so I was on the 18th, and I was in the little area there where they walk off, just for regulation pace. So I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
But all you could hear was the crowd reaction. So we knew he was close. What was the put for in regulation? 6 feet?
Oh, in regulation, 6 feet.
6 feet.
Like that,
knew he was close. So I was listening, and then there's this groan, right? And I thought, oh, Jesus. So he comes in there, and I thought, right, I need to see this now. I don't want to go back to the media centre. I want to be here. So he walks off. I want to be here for. So I ran into the grill, the clubhouse grill, just behind there, and there's TV screens there, and they didn't see me. I could see Brendan Lowry was sitting around the table with Tommy Fleetwood and Wendy Lowry, and actually Shane wasn't there. That'd be a good question to see where Shane was. But they were sitting down in the corner watching the screens. So I watched the playoff on the screens in this the grill room, and something incredible happened because obviously Rose misses the putt, and Rory then has, what was it, 4 feet,
Yeah, probably 3
and a half.
probably 3.5 feet, and we're looking at it there, and you don't realise there's a delay. There's a delay on the TV feed. So we hear this big cheer, we think, fuck, he's done it. Before he's even stood up to the putt. It was just incredible. And then we just dashed to the door then.
Yeah.
But it was really odd, you know, to be sitting there watching it, oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And then you hear the roar going up outside, you realise before he, on the screen, it was just brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing to talk to people. This is only my second Masters, but walking the first few holes with people who've been here a million times, they've never seen crowds like it.
No.
Usually on an Augusta Sunday, people take up a perch in different places and watch all the groups coming through. But today there was only one show in town, and like they were 10, 12 deep on some of the holes to watch this.
Yeah.
It was an electrifying thing to watch unfold.
And you know, every journalist in the place was pulling for the best story, and for 99% of them in there,
You don't think they have empathy?
I think they do. I think there were a lot of hands-on heads at times when the double bogeys happened and putts were missed, and I can't believe he's after doing that and all that kind of stuff. People were enjoying it. They were working. Obviously, you're working to deadline and rewriting and fiddling around with copy, and there was just who's your leading nightmare on the leaderboard. There was a lot of chat about that.
To be honest, Brian, and without being rude, I don't give a fuck what any of these fellas in here think or how they were feeling about it. What mattered today, the outstanding memory was when he did it.
Yeah.
And when he got that, when he broke down and the tears on the green.
Never seen that. I've never seen anybody. Now, he said in his press conference, it was interesting to say that he said it was all relief. And I can imagine that, because can you imagine the amount of stress and worry? And he said even as well, he admitted at various different times, it thought that it was gone. So to get back and to do it in that situation,
carrying the burden for 14 years.
Well, his honesty has always set him apart. You know, to say how nervous he was when he grew up this morning, couldn't eat, comes to the first tee, still really nervous, double bogeys the first. You know, to do it, to come through all that, and to do it is just
and to reset when he came off the 72nd hole.
Yeah. And he clearly did reset. That was obvious. I watched it. Yeah,
we'd have taken this on Monday.
Yeah, that was interesting. And just as an aside thing, it was great to hear Rory talk about Harry. He actually choked up when he was asked about Harry as caddy, and he made this point, because I don't know how many bullshit theories I've heard from people that I know talking about Harry Diamond and his caddy, who wouldn't have the first clue what Harry does or doesn't do or should be doing or shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And Rory actually choked up talking about Harry, how he's been almost like a big brother to him.
Yeah.
It's when they first started playing when they were 7 years of age. And I was watching Harry there, and I don't know the guy at all, but I've never seen a cooler person in that situation.
No.
I saw when Rory hauled the putt, he turned around and shook Justin Rose's caddy's hand.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a sort of a glint there. No. So I think he has done an incredible job this week. I thought it was great that Rory paid such a genuine tribute to him there as well.
And tough on Justin Rose, you have to say. He played so well all through the week, and really gave it. You do feel for him, and indeed for Shane, who had a tough day today, like a terrible day. And it was lovely to see him there. Not that you ever doubted he was going to stay, but it was lovely to see him there and embracing at the end, like a really, really great thing.
Yeah.
But even for obviously Shane was in contention, then things didn't go well from today, didn't finish well yesterday. But I think even besides being Rory McIlroy's friend, what Irish person that's interested in sport wouldn't want to be in here for this?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been lucky to be at a couple of great occasions, and this is just phenomenal achievement. Yeah. I think this. Well, it's not right to grade things. I don't think you should grade them, but my God, this was just absolutely historic.
Yeah, and fair play to Rose. I mean, he must have been. He'd lose a second playoff, and he said, I wanted to be the bad guy today. But I was just so proud to be there to share that moment with him, an historic moment,
very
to
gracious.
win, to complete the Grand Slam. I mean, how often do you get a chance to play alongside somebody who does that? And if you're going to lose to somebody, to lose to one of the all-time greats.
And as well as that, maybe next year, we won't pretend we know everything about the Masters again, because we were sitting here last night saying it was a 2-horse race, And if you'd have
Yeah.
showed us that leaderboard this time last night, we would have said you were off your rocker. Rose came from 7 shots back from Rory McIlroy. 7 shots at the start
But
of the day.
that is going to be interesting actually in terms of where it rates in most exciting Masters. I mean, it really was extraordinary,
I
wasn't
can't.
it?
Well,
Tigers, obviously, when they all fell apart on the 12th hole, and
Yeah, that was-
suddenly, you know,
Yeah.
he wins the Master, you know, 2019. That was an incredible scene at that 18th with his kids coming off the green with their.
there feels like
This was up there with that.
But
I
this
think
fits like
it ranks alongside that one.
yeah, like excitement is one thing, but like I'd always rank sort of sporting. I wouldn't rank, but like when you're trying to value them, if you want to put it that way, you're talking about sort of moments, and I think there was more moments in this than any golf tournament I can remember.
Yeah.
Like there was just incredible moments. Like they'll show that round of golf forever, lads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've been here all week, and every time you look at the screen, they're showing Tiger, they're showing Nicholas, they're showing all of those things.
Yeah.
What we saw there will be shown forever.
It will, yeah.
Like, I mean, you talk about, you know, Faldo and Norman. That was like death by 1,000 cuts, and poor old Norman, you know, just slowly but surely, you know, bleeding out on the golf course. But this was just like the Battle of Waterloo, you know, such a
It's
close
exactly
run
what it
thing
was.
you never saw in your life, you know. And there you go, the Duke of Wellington, Rory McIlroy.
On that note, we will leave you to have a glass of something fizzy,
Probably.
maybe. Thanks for joining us on a great day for Rory and a great day for Ireland.
That's that.